bump, but I think there's still room for a better way of doing it, but I'm not sure what it is.
You're using your platform to speak for the drivers
absolutely,
here, aren't you, Chris?
absolutely.
Quite rightly, as you should. As you should. Now, I hope you're going to be able to stay with me for this mini rock, or you're going to have to leave?
I'm probably going to have to leave now. I need to get ready for my heat.
Well,
so,
Chris, many thanks indeed. We look forward to seeing you in action in your heat, which will be the final heats we have before we take a very short lunch break. But I'm going to enjoy this mini rock 12-lap heat, because they gave us plenty of thrills and spills in the qualifying. MIKHAYLOV of Russia qualifying in P1. You can see there, that's kart 36, Jacob Ethan Lauter of the United States of America. Provisionally P7. Nice wave to the camera from Taiyo VLIEGEN of Thailand. Like the thumbs up there from the Russian, Ivan Tugolukov. And that's kart 9, CONRAD GARROW of Australia. Been given some last minute instructions. So the mini rock 12-lap heat about to get underway. And what's been a very exciting day's karting so far here at the opening round of the 2020 Rock Cup Singapore. You're watching live on the One Play Sports Network as the hooter goes off and out come the karts. Couple of pushes being needed. A reminder, this Singapore 2020 series, round 1 today, obviously. Round 2 is the 1st of March. Round 3 is in Sepang in April, and round 5 back here in Singapore in May, or round 4 I should say, back here in Singapore in May, and round 5 again here in July. You have, of course, the Asia groups to consider as well. All in all, 8 races in this 2020 Rock Cup in Asia, as we have a look at the starting grid in the Mini Rock and Mini Little Races series. Max HOELLMANN of Germany. Will start from 12th. These karts, of course, slightly different spec to the karts we've seen in our other groups. These are 60cc, 10 horsepower Vortex engines. And the minimum weight requirement for these karts, 110 kilograms, which takes some doing, bearing in mind how little some of these guys are. But they may be very little, but they are also very, very fast. It's a moving start here after the formation lap, so we're almost good for action. So the rolling start is about to come into effect as they all jockey for final positions here. Oh, there was a bit of a coming together at the front. That's not a bumper that's been impacted. I think it was on the right of the grid there. I feared for a minute that NICOLAS STATI had gone into the back of the kart in front of him, which was TIMOFEY of Russia. But they are moving, they are racing, and they are good to go. As an expectant crowd of friends, family, and general fans pick up this heat in the Mini Rock and Mini Little Rockers category. And away they go through the first turn now. TIMOFEY MIKHAYLOV. Did he manage to maintain that position early on the inside line? It's very close between the two of them. I'm not entirely sure that TIMOFEY wasn't taken over there. Well, interesting. Did FIRHAND manage to get by there? We'll find out very shortly as they get through the first sector. But it certainly looked for me that it wasn't a foregone conclusion that TIMOFEY had managed to hold on to top spot as Max HOELLMANN brings up the rear. There's a yellow flag out here as well. So clearly an issue as they slow right down. And TIMOFEY does indeed look to be in front. But FIRHAND, look at them there, going wheel to wheel, and I'm not entirely sure that TIMOFEY did hold on to top spot there. Of course, no overtaking allowed during the yellow flag, and they're closing right up here. So this is all going to be about timing, because when that green flag waves and they're good to go, look at the two of them here. This is going to be a battle royale, you fancy, between Indonesia's QARRAR FIRHAND, who's in cart 7 on the far side of shot, as you see there in the orange suit, and in the white suit, the Russian Timofey MIKHAYLOV on the left of shot. And they're good to go, and it is QARRAR FIRHAND who does take over at the start of this 12-lap heat. He's usurped the Russian early. So it's going to be Indonesia in 1, Russia in 2, and there's a fierce battle going on for 3rd as well, which may yet impact Timofey MIKHAYLOV, who's not had a great start to this heat. Green flag continues to flow in the breeze, and it's a green flag that's given QARRAR FIRHAND an advantage here, and with lots of open space in front. Can he try and open up on the chasing Timofey MIKHAYLOV, who qualified in P1, remember, but at the moment is having to make do with 2nd spot. I think I saw a bit of debris on the track there. I hope they clear that. Something was fluttering in the breeze, but he can't get close to him at the moment, Timofey MIKHAYLOV. Now this is part of a wider plan. It was a slight bit of oversteer, I thought, there briefly from QARRAR FIRHAND and his cart, but no real damage done, and he still leads after the first lap. It's QARRAR 1, Timofey 2, EMILIANO of Singapore in 3, NICOLAS in 4, TUGOLUKOV of Thailand in 5, and DILLAN of UG Motorsports in Singapore in 6. Well, a 2-second gap. That looks an extraordinary time. I can't believe that. No, it's not 2 seconds. It's 0.4 seconds. I thought that graphic was a little bit wonky. So 0.4 seconds, but now Timofey is really closing up, and he's got to fight him off here, QARRAR FIRHAND, somehow, because in this battle for first, there's 1,000th of a second between them, and he is really now putting the pressure on QARRAR FIRHAND, this Russian, and as the qualifying times expected, it looks like it's set to be a battle royale between these two. Emiliano is a further half-second back in 30. Certainly close enough, if good enough, as now the Russian tries to take the lead, gets it back momentarily and manages to keep out QARRAR there into that turn. Wonderful driving from the Russian, but QARRAR, you feel, may still have more to give here. A brilliant manoeuvre from car 25, Timofey MIKHAYLOV, who's regained top spot here. And QARRAR FIRHAND now finds himself a quarter of a second down in second, but chomping at his heels. And you can see QARRAR, they're just looking behind him momentarily. I think he's conscious there's a gaggle of drivers, 6 of them in fact, who are still very much in this contest. The top 5 separated by not very much at all, but having managed to regain the lead after losing top spot right after the start of the race, Timofey MIKHAYLOV has regained control of proceedings here, but he will know the skills that QARRAR FIRHAND has shown on the track today mean that he simply cannot afford any mistakes, and that gap is staying steady at the moment at a quarter of a second. Back in third, Emiliano is just about to start to join this party, you fancy. Emiliano CYRUS of Autonic Racing in Singapore. Gap just opening up now from Timofey, and QARRAR, if anything, is now going to find himself under a bit of pressure from Emiliano. The gap between Timofey and QARRAR is bigger than the gap between QARRAR and Emiliano at the moment, and that tells you all you need to know. QARRAR FIRHAND did lead, but now he's got company in the battle for second, and 3 of them pursued by NICOLAS in 4th spot, TUGOLUKOV out of Thailand in 5th, and DILLAN in 6th. All 6 of those drivers, realistically, you fancy, still might think they're a podium chance here. Certainly wanting to secure positions for the pre-final and final. QARRAR QARRAR closing back up on Timofey through that 5th lap. Still 7 to go. Best lap of the race, timed by Timofey MIKHAYLOV, 50.492. And I wouldn't mind wagering these boys and the girl, of course. KATRINA C, down in P11 at the moment. But Timofey MIKHAYLOV is opening up now. QARRAR FIRHAND at this point will be more worried about the battle for second than he will the battle for first, you fancy. Well, now, having said that, every time I write him off, he seems to close up that gap once more. Might just be the middle sectors where Timofey is getting the better of it, because there's nothing between them at all through the first sector. Well, there's been never more than half a second between them throughout the first half of the race. But now you can really see Emiliano is piling on the pressure to QARRAR. He seems to be able to do that down the home straight every time. At the moment, QARRAR FIRHAND has had the answers, but the pressure will continue to come. But it's in this first sector of the track where he tries to close up again on Timofey MIKHAYLOV, who goes faster still and is really now beginning to open up daylight between himself and not just QARRAR, the rest of the field. Top 6 places, but it's a sign of a great driver that Timofey MIKHAYLOV had that issue on the first lap when the yellow flags came out and he lost the lead to QARRAR, but took it back almost instantly after the restart and has not really been troubled since. And Timofey now is really piling it on. Over half a second in front of QARRAR. Emiliano is going for a run in the inside of QARRAR, and he's going to take him, I think. Well, he pushed him very wide. But Emiliano, I think, has managed to secure that move to take second spot. Now then, what happened to poor old QARRAR FIRHAND there? He did seem to go very wide. Now, where has he dropped down to? He's dropped all the way down to 4th. So that bold move from Emiliano CYRUS, who did appear to have the racing room and line to do that, has been a huge disaster for QARRAR FIRHAND, who's gone from 2nd to 4th. And remember, he led the race in the first lap. So Timofey MIKHAYLOV, all that drama has allowed him to open up a near second advantage now with just 3 laps to go. Emiliano, with that bold piece of driving, pushing the limits to the extreme, you fancy, securing him second spot. And NICOLAS was a beneficiary from that as well, because having gone so wide, QARRAR FIRHAND has had to succumb to a 3-spot drop down to 4th. So it's Timofey 1, Emiliano 2, NICOLAS 3, QARRAR 4. And I wonder if the Thai driver is going to try and compound the misery for QARRAR now to see if he can close up. Oh, 86 and 75 coming together there. Emiliano and NICOLAS battling it out for second and third. I think they touched wheels momentarily. Oh, it's disaster for QARRAR. He's now down to 6. The Thai was putting the pressure on, and he managed to take him, and so did DILLAN. So QARRAR FIRHAND, only a little rocker, remember. Have to make that clear as well. So it's a stunning drive wherever he does from here to even manage to lead this race at Sunbird, having qualified in P2. But it's a learning curve when you go up to the age groups. And QARRAR FIRHAND, don't write him off just yet. You know, he's proved that he's got the times in the locker to still be competitive with the pre-final and final still to come. But Timofey MIKHAYLOV is proving himself at the moment a class apart in this mini rockers category. Emilio Cyrus with better track position when we get through to the pre-final and final. I wonder if he'll fancy himself a chance to run him close. He's surely too far behind to get near him at the moment, and he's worrying about the battle to hold on to second spot because NICOLAS STATI, the Australian, is right up his backside looking to try and steal second from him. On to the last lap they go. It's going to be a masterful drive from Timofey MIKHAYLOV, who recovered from adversity and the yellow flag in the first lap to claim this heat quite comfortably in the end by over a second. A good drive as well from Emilio, whose bold move 4 laps from home to overtake QARRAR has put him into second, and unfortunately for QARRAR, seen him slump through the field. NICOLAS for third, the tie, Taiyo in fourth, Dillan in 5, Jacob in 6. It sets itself up very nicely for our pre-final and final to come over 16 and, or I should say 14 and 16 laps respectively. But make no mistake about it, Timofey MIKHAYLOV is going to be the driver to beat. Stand by. Following very shortly, we will have our KF1 GP GP50 heats over 12 laps before a lunch break of an hour, and we'll return live after these KF1 GP GP50 heat race for the expert GP, junior GP and senior GP heats. It's coming up to 11:45 here in the morning local time in Singapore. You're watching live pictures on One Play from the Kranji KF1 racetrack as Timofey MIKHAYLOV, 10 minutes 10 seconds, takes it out for Russia and DRM. Emiliano Cyrus with that big move, the Singaporean getting the better of QARRAR FIRHAND, the little rocker who went from second to sixth inside 3 laps, still or seventh I should say, second to seventh his final position, but still a good drive from the young Indonesian. And KATRINA E, the only female in the field, the Malaysian KATRINA E, congratulations to her on her 11th place finish, getting the better of 3 of the boys. So, can anyone get the better of Timofey MIKHAYLOV in the pre-final and final? We'll find out a little later on. The timings for you. The Mini Rock pre-final was scheduled for 1:51 this afternoon local time, and the Mini Rock final 3:44 p.m. local time. We're going straight back into action now with the heat of KF1 GP GP50. Before our lunch break, the open and seniors category here, racing over 12 laps, where the man that was up with me on commentary moments ago is driving from P5 here. Chris Chu. P1 will be Brian Lee. P2, Leon Koo. And P3, Yong Ying Lee. And making up the front 2 rows, John McGregor of Great Britain of GP Racing. He is driving from P4, so stay with us if you're watching live on the One Play Sports Network across the world. While I get this short break, just give you a verbal mention. I mentioned that this is the opening round of the Rock Cup 2020 for Singapore. Round 1, of course, here today. Round 2, 1st of March, back here. Round 3 is Sepang. That's in April. Round 4, back here in Singapore at the KF1 track, and we'll be going anti-clockwise. The first 2 rounds in Singapore clockwise, anti-clockwise in round 4 in May, and round 5 will round off the Singapore series in July, on the 19th of July. So there they are, the KF1 and GP50 drivers get the hooter. .617 is Jane Rishab of Singapore, as Brian Lee and Leon Koo. They get a front row lockout for Singapore. Leung Yang Lee put in some spectacular lap times towards the end of that qualifying session in P3. John McGregor and Chris Chu, 4 and 5 from Great Britain. Leo Holman was very fast early in qualifying, but had to satisfy himself with P7. Richard Tan the man we've all got a huge amount of respect for in P8, Olivier Dennis of Britain in lane on the 5th row there in P9, and we go all the way down to the 8th row of Benjamin Ung and Jane Rishab. So 16 drivers then on their formation lap, and off and racing they will go. That's kart 642, Caleb Liao starting in P11. As we see if we're going to get any early moves here. Plenty of daylight through the formation lap and in the early part of this race. As the man up top has to slow considerably down, and I'm not sure he's too happy about that. Brian Lee seemed to be a little bit agitated. He was so far in front of the rest of the drivers, who now start to gather together to get the signal to start this heat of the KF1 GP50 category. The car before the storm, as those engines just purr rather than blast. That will change very shortly though. And look at the anxious look across from Brian Lee. He wants to know every move and every thought of Leon Koo. He'll be alongside him in the front row. So, ready to race, and race they do, and it's an early move. As we unfortunately momentarily lose pictures, but it was a big early move there from Leon Koo, and you could see that Brian Lee was anticipating it and maybe even waiting for it. But Leon Koo is fastest through the first sector. He's taken up the gauntlet from the very first corner, and he leads Brian Lee, who's let pole slip to the first section of the first lap. Leon Koo's already racing through sector 2 with a purple time of 14.1. .47.832 is a very respectable opening lap time from Leon Koo. And now he's got that space in front of him. The question is, can Brian Lee respond? Leon Koo with the lead. After the first lap, it was almost a second. It looks to have closed up ever so slightly. But still big enough to be cause for concern for Brian Lee. It's just about staying close enough to him. If you can get close enough to make a move, you never know here. And he's certainly closing up again, and closing up rapidly, Brian Lee. Leung Ying Lee, by the way, is held on to third spot, and John McGregor holding on to fourth, and Chris Chew, our very own Chris Chew, in fifth, and Timothy Young in sixth. So the only change in the front six placings after the opening couple of laps was the change that saw second swap with first, with Leon Koo making that very bold early move that so far, well, I spoke too soon, because just like that, Brian Lee regains the lead. So Brian Lee now leading. Leon Koo relegated back to second. Unfortunately, didn't catch a glimpse of that move that Brian Lee made, but it's good enough to take him back up to top spot with 9 laps to go. And what's more, he seems to be intent on opening up a gap, because very quickly, I'm not sure if Leon had a problem on that lap, but very quickly he's gone from a half-second lead to a half-second deficit. The last lap time from Leon Koo, 47.985, so very, very slow indeed, in contrast to the 47.364 registered by Brian Lee. So a big worry for Leon Koo will be Leung Ying Lee, who's very close in second. The two carts with the pink liveries, second and third. Keep an eye out for Chris Chu. Well, that's another change, one of the few changes you've had, because Timothy Ong has relegated Chris Chu down to 6th. And if you're looking out for Chris in cart 514. Well, now Brian Lee is really opening up here. Gap on the screen says 0.78 seconds. The way it's going might be a second or so more. And let's see what work Chris has got to do. Well, Chris has got to make up about 4/10 of a second on the man that's stolen 5th from him. Let's see if he's capable of doing that. Just like that, we're already approaching the first halfway mark of this heat. So let's see if we can pick up Chris Chu, 514, as they come past again, led by Brian Lee. Brian Lee just recording the best lap of the race, 46.563. Leon Koo, to his credits, closed up ever so slightly, and of course important to mention that the drivers in second, third and fourth are all in the 50 and over category, as is Chris Chu, who's currently in 6th. So it's relative youth at the moment overall being beaten by absolute experience, with the exception, of course, of Brian Lee, who's driving in the KF1 GP category, and well, his nearest danger, which is Timothy Ong, is fully 3 seconds behind him, so no real moment of alarm for Brian Lee. But you'd want to finish in front, regardless of the fact these categories are mixed. You want to be making sure you finish in front of Leon Koo, and at the moment he looks set to be doing that as we're down to the final 4 laps. So there's an issue there. Oh, that's nasty. And there's a car got over there. Is it 644? It is, and that's Kwek Yo Sien. Kwek Yo Sien, who was down in 12th, has taken a nasty tumble there. Thankfully, he looks like he's up. He's a little shaken. Well, he's very shaken, but the stewards and support staff have done a great job to get him off the track. And, well, I'm sure he's going to need medical attention, but at least he had the wherewithal to get himself up and over the barrier and off the track. But a nasty incident there for car 644, Kwek Yo Sien. And let's see if the green flags... No, I can see a yellow flag over on that far side. So they're going to close right up again here. Oops. Kwek Yo Sien. Do hope he's okay as he took that tumble. That cart turned right over, didn't it? So he's going to have suffered some impact there, but credit to his bravery to jump right back up. And even before the stewards and the medical staff had got there, he'd got himself off the track and out of harm's way. Well, they don't appear to have stopped racing for too long here, despite that accident, because Brian Lee is up at full pelt again with Leon Koo to worry about. Leong Yang Lee not too far behind. Then John McGregor, Timothy Ong, Leo Holman. A good drive here from Leon Holman. That's some drive as well to get him up to 6. Our very own Chris Chu, unfortunately, has dropped 2 points, 2 places from his opening start of P5, and is now out the top 6. Benjamin Go is also a driver who, according to my graphic, says has retired. So, yeah, Benjamin Go. And confirmation, of course, Kwek Hyo Shing both retiring. But with 2 laps to go, a change in the lead again. And this ever ongoing battle between Brian Lee and Leon Koo continues. And Leon Koo is back to the top of the shop. And not only that, I'm not sure if Brian Lee's got an issue, but he's got company for second as well. So, Leon Koo started from P2. Got up to P1, back down to P2, and now on the last lap, within striking distance of taking out this KF1 Rock GP50 heat. Leon Koo, by any event, will be... Oh, another cart's off there. Let's see if we can pick up that number. Was it 641? Or 642 maybe? Was it Caleb Lior? Well, they're coming out now. The hands go up, and Leon Koo, with a sensational drive, takes out not just the heat but the over 50 category as well. Brian Lee has to make do with P2, but he's the leading driver in the KF1 GP group. Leong Yang Lee in third, John McGregor in four, Timothy Young in five. In an action-packed race, we saw a nasty incident with Kwok Hyo Shing, who unfortunately turned over in his cart, but luckily was well enough to get to his feet, although he did go and lie down on the infield immediately afterwards. We do hope he's okay, but Leon Koo takes it out in a race where you have to say the 50 and over age group have got the better, and very much so got the better, of the KF1 GP boys. So, what a dramatic conclusion to our morning session. A reminder, we'll be back at 1 p.m. sharp Singapore time. Currently midday in Singapore. We'll be back in an hour's time for the heats of the Expert GP, the Junior GP. Really looking forward to that one, and the Senior GP as well. 2 superstars of the future to look forward to seeing in the heats for the juniors a little later on, scheduled at 1:17 p.m. in William Goh, the Philippines, and Nandavad Bidam Bakadi of Thailand. There's the classification for the heats in the KF1 Rock and GP50 heats. Unfortunately, we did have those 2 drivers, Kwok Hyo Shing and Benjamin Go, not finishing in a race that saw plenty of incidents. As the MRT train goes over the bridge that looks over this stunning circuit here in Singapore at the KF1 go-karting track. You can see one of the carts there still needing to be recovered. We'll say enjoy your lunchtime break, and do join us in just under an hour for a resumption where we've got the heat still to come of the Expert Junior and Senior GPs, the pre-final of all categories, and then we will start our finals across our 5 categories. It's a great start to this Sunday in the opening round of the Rock Cup 2020 in Singapore. Rejoin us live on One Play at 1 p.m.